everyone. Mike here from Magnus Box, coming at you today for our May Q&A session, along with some tips, tricks, and some random banter as usual, as you've seen on our past live streams. Today, I have the honor of being joined by the one and only Seth Byrne, who is one of our developers and partner support specialists here at Magnus Box. How you doing today, Seth?
Doing pretty good.
That was a pretty catchy little intro we had there, isn't it? It was kind of jamming out to the 60 seconds.
I like how it builds up as we get to the last 10 seconds.
It does. It sure. I did a 5-minute timer one time, and I literally sat there, I think, playing a game on my phone, waiting for the 5-minute timer to drop. So I figured 1 minute might be a little more appropriate to get the blood pumping and get everything going and get ready for our session here today.
Right. Yeah, 5 minutes would be, I don't know. There's a lot of time to kill.
It is. I mean, we could probably answer a few tickets in the queue in 5 minutes.
Right. Yeah. Exactly.
So this is our first joint Q&A session. So we're going to try to keep it a reasonable time frame. We understand a lot of our partners have business, but we figure it's lunchtime. Figure everyone needs a little break, from Facebook. So, but just a few little housekeeping rules. So we are streaming right now to our Facebook page, our partner group, and our YouTube channel. We are using StreamYard, and if you have any questions you would like us to answer live during the session, feel free to drop them in the comment box or in the comments, and we should see them. If we forget to catch anything, feel free to email support@magnusbox.com as always. So Seth, how do you want to start us off today? Do you want to start with a Q&A, or do you want to do them in between some tips and tricks here?
Yeah, so I can go ahead and start with kind of what our plan is for the next couple months. As Mike said before, we always have a yearly meeting, usually in January, just to kind of discuss where we want to take, what we want to spend our focus on. We normally have a theme for the year. Last year, a big theme was automation. A lot of the processes were manual, whether that be billing or trial accounts. So that was kind of our theme for last year. And so this year, we kind of chose to focus on improving the infrastructure that we have. And one of those pieces that I think we're going to focus on here in the next, throughout May and June, is improving our KB articles and our documentation. I think it does a pretty good job as it is right now. We have a lot of good documents, and we're continuing to add them as we see need for them. I know a couple weeks ago we added a best practices KB article. Just kind of talking about how to set up user accounts, kind of how to prevent some of those errors preemptively before they occur. And so I think we're going to try to focus on those, like I said, in the next coming months, kind of revisit some of those. I know some of the articles are a little bit out of date. For example, the network share for a NAS device. I think it still recommends to use like the net use command, which it works, but we actually added a built-in button on the protected item configuration dialog that'll kind of expedite that process, make it a little bit cleaner. And so just stuff like that, we want to kind of clean up, fix those. And then also video supplements. I've been working on, maybe a little bit too long, a couple of videos for the last couple weeks, going through the restore process for a disk image up to an Amazon AWS instance. And so just I want to see, I think personally, more of those kind of videos, especially for some of those multi-step processes, whether that be restoring a disk image to Hyper-V or VirtualBox. I know we have a KB article on restoring to Azure. So just getting videos up like that. I'm a visual person. I don't know about you, Mike, but I like to see a show me example type thing. So
there's one thing to read about it, but then there's another to kind of see how it's implemented. And I mean, that's what that's how I learn the best is I'm more of a hands-on. I mean, I can read a technical article, but I like having a good video. And I feel that a solid onboarding process has always been one of my favorite things that I've seen from companies that even we've partnered with here at Magnus Box is, when they have a great onboarding process, you don't have to open tickets. You kind of understand the process. And I think that they're a great asset. And, I want to joke because I remember when you mentioned that you wanted to test the AWS and start a video, I'm going, okay, when do I sign the documents for my second mortgage?
Yeah. Yeah,
Um,
so far it's been under $1 in terms of charges incurred. So knock on wood, it stays that way.
Yeah, let's hope it stays that way. I remember because I looked at using AWS in the beginning as part of our infrastructure, which we don't. And the billing is so complicated. And maybe
Yeah.
it's just me. I like simple, straight billing. That's why our billing sheet, we just kind of leave it at, here's the platform fee and here's the cost. And we try to keep
Mhm.
it simple as possible. That's it's always easy. It's best to have a simple pricing sheet, but I'm glad I don't have to
Yeah.
do a second mortgage on the house.
Yeah, I agree. I think simple pricing is always good. I've tried digging into Amazon's like pricing sheet, and I don't know if I'm just looking in the wrong spot or what, but it's like they have a nice cost explorer, but that like just shows me what my current costs are, what I've currently incurred for my next month's invoice, but I can't find like a, per gigabyte usage, but whatever.
Yeah, and even backup companies are the same way. There's a few of our competitors out there where we don't charge for transactions like class A, B, and C transactions, and you're sitting there going, okay, I have no idea how many class A, B, or C transactions these are going to cost.
Right.
You don't know, and it's kind of like going to the mechanic when you get that good old sticker shock. I hate when I go to. I like to know what my pricing is up front, which is why we believe in transparent pricing. But no, I think it's
Right.
great that we definitely need to get some videos up there. And AWS is a difficult one for me. I've personally never used AWS. I know you've delved into it in the past with some of your other projects, and so I think we've got the right person on the job for some AWS experience.
Yeah, I've learned quite a bit in the last couple of weeks, even just trying to figure out how to upload it. Amazon has a command line interface, and so installing that and configuring that, and then figuring out kind of where to put the access keys and stuff like that has been a learning process. But we're getting closer. I worked quite a bit last night on getting a lot of that footage recorded, so a lot of it will just be kind of editing, inserting audio files, and maybe making some fancy like transitions, and then it'll be pretty much ready to go.
Yeah, and just for those that don't know, that the AWS and what we're talking about here is for the disk image. And so with disk image, you can do that you can take an image of a hard drive, and you don't always have spare hardware laying around. And where the benefit of disk image comes into play is you can take that image and run a restore to a local computer, and then you can upload that data to either Azure, AWS. I think Google has their own virtualization platform as well, and you can convert that to a virtual machine. Now, someday the goal is to have direct to insert provider name here in the cloud, and we're not there yet. We just got this feature. What would you say? We got this feature roughly, I think it was like August of last year when disk image became available.
It was. Yep. So
yeah,
relatively new in the grand scheme of things. So
it is, and it's one of those things where we're hoping to have a video out there because we understand that our partners are busy, and you guys are doing. I was in the trenches for 14 years. Seth was in the trenches with me for a few years. That when I owned our old MSP. And so I tell you that it's good to always test the restore process and be prepared for when something does happen, but it's good to have a video to reference when you're trying to go through that disaster, and you can see, okay, it's not working. Well, here's the video. When it breaks at 2 a.m, you can reference the video instead of having to open a ticket. And I'm not saying we won't respond at 2 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, but there's a good chance that we're all sleeping.
Yeah, it's it's been a while since I was up till 2. But
I mean, I'm not going to say I didn't get a ticket response or I didn't get a message on Slack from Seth last night at 12:10, but
well, midnight 10 is a little bit different than 2.
that's a true statement, But so, what else can we push disk image to, Seth? Besides the cloud platforms, where else can we push disk images?
We can push it to a USB, obviously the bootable USB medium. I'd like to get a video up for that as well. We can also push it to Hyper-V. We actually had a ticket come in a couple weeks ago. But the thing with Hyper-V is they don't support VMDK files directly. So a little bit of background. From my understanding, VMDK is a Microsoft kind of file format, whereas I think it's a VDK without the N there. A VDK file is specifically for Hyper-V virtual machines. And so there is a kind of an intermediary step from the disk image restore process from that VMDK file to convert it into a VDK file. Microsoft has a free service that you can download that'll convert that for you. So it's not super intensive, but it's, when like Mike said, when something fails at 2 a.m, you want to, you don't want to try to figure this out on your own. It'd be great if we can kind of emphasize that and have a video and show you like, hey, here's how you convert the file, in 3 easy steps or whatever it is. That way you have a clear roadmap and the restoration process goes a little bit more smooth.
Definitely. And I mean, it's a good thing. And I mean, I think documentation is one of our big things, and it's a huge thing that's always been, it's a constant, never ending project. Seth and Matt have been working hard to build our internal systems. You can do so much, and then we get to a point where, okay, we think it's good, and then we can add more a little bit down the road. But documentation is always going to be an ongoing process as things change. I've already got a ton of troubleshooting guides that I need to upload. Especially, I know Sam posted to the to our Facebook group today regarding computers and an issue where they're not backing up after they wake up from sleep. So we gotta update our KB and add those circumstances as well. So I think something important that we're also going to be implementing here pretty soon is putting together some configuration guides. So you're thinking best practices, Seth, tips and tricks? Do you think those would be good for our partners as well?
Yeah, yep. Tips and tricks, videos, just kind of like how, that initial restore process, or not restore process, well, that too, but the initial backup setup process goes from the endpoint software standpoint as well as the web dashboard. It'd be great if we could even make make those pretty nice and short, kind of bite-sized, and we could even incorporate those into our trial account onboarding process, or the new server provisioning emails, and just kind of make that transition as smooth as possible.
Definitely. I know I watched some videos recently, some training videos, and each video was 2 minutes. And I was like, that is like the perfect size. And they crammed a lot into that 2 minutes very quickly. But then I realized I can pause and rewind pretty quickly as well. So,
right.
I love technical videos, but I also think that quick overview videos are an asset as well. Some of the videos that we need to work on getting some updates for as well are our synchro videos. And there's a little bit of challenge behind that. I think our biggest challenge is that the free trial account that they gave us for a year ran out. Be interesting to see if we're able to re-register and run a few more test videos on there. Hopefully they don't have us watch as they have it like anything at magnusbox.com or .net completely blacklisted. But I think eventually we're going to have to bite the bullet and do a trial and get those videos. Either that or we're going to have to contract one of our partners to let us use their system for a few days and test some videos out, huh, Seth?
Yeah, they've changed quite a bit since that initial video. All the setup is pretty much the same in terms of the custom variables and stuff like that. But I know we did a massive, pretty big overhaul. I think it was November, December type time period, where we added the ability to create the storage vault and assign the storage vault as well as a default policy, all in that create user script. And then we also added some other checks and balances, additional logging and stuff like that. And so the script looks a little bit different from, what the YouTube video shows, as well as, what's on our GitHub. So, and we also had one of our partners graciously convert all the scripts to Datto format. And so that would be a nice video series to add as well. Just kind of how that, setup process goes for Datto.
Yeah, and that was the thing is when I made those videos, at 2 a.m. one morning, for Synchro, they were very basic scripts, and then our partners pushed them to the limits to the point where they came up with some great ideas, and those changes to those Synchro scripts were Synchro, if I can say it right. Those changes to those scripts were kind of started because our partners wanted to see those changes. And so we're always looking to make improvements. Like I said, our trial ran out that we had that they were gracious enough to give us. So we definitely got to get some updated videos, because I think a number of our tickets that have been coming in lately for Synchro have been because, the updated scripts help with automating the deployment and setting the default policies, stuff that the original videos were never needed. And when in justification, of that, when we made those videos, those default policy features weren't available. So as time changes, we just got to update those videos as well. And I mean, we got a whole series on our YouTube channel. You can find that link at the bottom of our website. And as far as the data scripts, you know, that was something that our partners were looking for, and it wasn't on our radar to implement at the time. And one of our partners, on their own, by themselves, with no prompting from us, went and converted all of the synchro scripts to Datto RMM and then shared them with us to give to the community. And anytime a partner creates something for the community and shares it, we do give credits. We have paid those partners for their time and energy, and we are humbled that they are willing to better the Magnus Box community, which is why we have the Facebook partner group, and that's why we have open communication amongst all of our partners. That's why I love our community. There's zero toxicity. Everyone works together, and we're all working towards a common goal, which is to, as our motto states, protecting your client's data from disaster. So, I mean, that's a huge thing for me.
Yep, definitely agree.
So what do we have for next topic here, Seth? Do you want me to grab that question that we had yesterday from I'm thinking we should grab that question from Chris from yesterday from the Facebook group.
Yeah, I think that's a good new question. It's a little bit out of my realm right now. But yeah,
so I'm going to leave the last name off just because we are broadcasting to public. We're trying to be careful with what we're releasing today as well, mainly because a lot of this Magnus Box is channel only, so we try to keep last names out of it. So Chris posted to our partner group, when will Office 365 backup be released? So Office 365 is still in beta. It still needs a lot of work yet. So we're testing it internally here. It's looking very promising. So as of right now, how it works is you're basically setting up a protected item on a workstation, and you're then connecting it to your Office 365. What's the word? Your tenant. You're installing it as an app, I believe the correct word is. I don't have it in front of me. So basically, Magnus Box becomes an authorized app within this Office 365 account, so it can gain access. And then you're telling it what to back up, which as of right now, it can back up OneDrive, Exchange, which is your email, SharePoint, and I believe Teams. And it's very promising looking. We're hoping that it'll become available in the next quarter or two. Everyone's looking for pricing, and I guarantee everyone that's watching right now is sitting there screaming at the screen, well, how much are you going to charge for it? The answer is we don't know yet. So because it's still in beta, it's still in development, it's going to probably be per user, I want to say, but it's still too early to give a good answer for that. And it does, like I said, it is promising looking. As of right now, I'm hoping that before it goes to public that we can actually restore back to the Office 365. As of right now, if you have a client that deletes something, you have to restore the emails and whatnot to an endpoint. So, and that's the other thing too, is that all the data is flowing through this one endpoint that you set the protected item up on. So best advice would be to put this on like a centralized device, on a centralized device. You don't want some guy that's shutting off his computer every day and not turning it on to run the backups be the one that is causing a vulnerability because the device is always offline. So, but yeah, so we're hoping to have some more information on Office 365 in the near future. We're hoping it'll be available in the next quarter or two. It's still under heavy development, but it is in beta. We have not actually released it to any of our partners yet to test because we're just not ready for that level yet. So that's what I have for Office 365 at the moment. So Seth, what else do we have on our list for today?
So did you want to talk about Matt's progress, or should we save that for another day?
You've talked to Matt quite a bit about the Synology package. I didn't make it to this week's sync meeting, but so where are we at on Synology? I know it's still in beta at the moment. We have about 5 beta testers. So where are we at on Synology?
Yeah, so Matt's been making, he's been working diligently. He said he's like for the last month I've been working on Synology and stuff like that. So kudos to him. I know it's a lot of work. There are a couple. He had a meeting with one of our partners on Monday, beta tester, and he discovered a bug that was in the package. And for whatever reason, the install script, the actual installation assets were duplicated in this particular instance. So like I said, for some reason, there's a bug somewhere where those scripts are duplicated, and they're also not able to be referenced by other parts of the script. So, there's different parts of the install process that communicate with each other and rely on each other. And Matt was saying that for whatever reason, parts of that interaction between different assets aren't functioning as expected. So he's going to kind of focus on that this week, try to figure out what is going wrong there, try to reproduce it, obviously, as this was on a partner's Synology device. But he's hoping he can resolve that. I know he's made a lot of good progress. For example, sometimes Synology device doesn't have the OPT directory, which is where Magnus Box is installed. So Matt's got that being created. So that's a nice small improvement. He's also got it. So currently the setup goes, the setup relies on your partner URL. So that easy backup domain. And so there's a couple small issues that he caught early on. For example, if you have kind of if you're on a different page on the web interface, then that kind of that following subdirectory and path kind of caused some issues as well. So he's taking care of that. And so slowly but surely we're making progress. Still don't have a solid ETA, but definitely making progress towards that goal.
Yeah, and if I remember, I think there was another one where like the whole entire app directory is just gone. Mm-hmm. So Synology, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. Synology has been a very in-depth. We thought it was just going to be a very easy app to develop, and I got to say, Matt really took the lead on this one, and it has become. We may have to give him an easy project for the next one, like something really simple, just so he can get a break, because he has been on the Synology app, and it's not. Magnus Box has no problem if you open a ticket and we can SSH into your Synology device with you there, and we can install it for you. It takes like 20, 30 minutes, if that, I guess, because it takes time to get SSH'd in and get it going. It's not a problem. If you want us to do that, just email support and we can schedule a time with one of the three of us to set up that manually. The goal was to try to automate those commands that were manually running. But on top of that, each Synology has a different chipset, I believe is the word for it, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, and that's a big hurdle that Matt was saying, because he has to, he hasn't figured out a way yet to package all of those different architectures into a single downloadable app. And so in order for him to kind of distribute those, he has to manually build for each distribution, each chipset, and then, create a downloadable app and all that sort of stuff. So it's just like, if he makes a change, he basically has to go and start from square one in terms of generating those app files. So that's a pretty big hurdle currently as well.
Yeah, and some of the newer Synology devices, he's doing a great job compiling them, and we're getting ready to, I don't want to put a timeline on when we're going to release the Synology app. It is in heavy beta yet, and there are bugs that are going to happen. And then there's also been reported of if you do a DSM upgrade on the Synology, I believe that's what it was, is a DSM upgrade, that you have to reinstall as well. So Synology has been a interesting one to develop for. So we're hoping to have more information in the future. Now, I do want to let our partners know that once we do launch the Synology app, it will be billed at a server license rate. Look at that, a ticket just came in. Someone must be listening. It will be billed at a server rate. And I know people aren't going to agree with this, because I had someone get upset at me about this recently. Normally, you're hoarding more data on a Synology device. So workstations, we kind of estimate that most people have like 80 to 100 gigs of data. Synology, some of you guys are hoarding at least 1 to 5 to 10 terabytes of data. And so we have to account for that. And so that is why it is a server license expense. But yeah, I think it's going to be promising once we get it out there. In all fairness, we talked to other developers as well that were developing an app for the Synology device, and they were running into the same hurdles as well. So we don't feel as bad, because we're all in the same boat right now. But And as I mentioned in a previous post, unfortunately, unless we have 50,000 active users, Synology will not let us publish the app to their store. We have almost 2,600 devices on our platform and only a handful of Synology. So there are some ways around it, like having our own repository. So there's things we're always working on and we're always improving.
One thing I'd like to insert here real quick is I was working with a partner on a ticket, and his Synology, like the disk manager on the Synology side, was reporting about 10 terabytes of data usage, but Magnus Box was reporting about 22 terabytes or so almost twofold greater. And I thought that was maybe just an isolated instance, but I saw Matt had a ticket that came in a couple of days ago that was very similar. So if there's any other, if any of the other partners are noticing a discrepancy in terms of how much data is Magnus Box is seeing and how much data the Synology is reporting, just feel free to email support so we can kind of gather as much information about this as we can to see, if we can isolate it, if we can pinpoint a cause. I know Matt was saying that, and I've confirmed this before too, that this actual storage vault size is much less than the Synology usage because it's compressed and all that. But I'm referring specifically to the header. If you go to the backup report and at the top, it'll say like total size, and it'll normally estimate how much data is being backed up. And that number is usually 2 to 3-fold greater than the actual usage on the Synology device. So again, we're still kind of working on troubleshooting that and trying to figure out again where that discrepancy is arising from.
Now, there's something else I want to add, and I know we're probably throwing a lot at people. We try to keep it to be a short Q&A, and we're just going to go off topic a little bit here. Something else that I noticed as well, Seth, is that these Synology devices, especially the lower model ones, the way Magnus Box works is the data is encrypted on the endpoint, and that encryption requires memory. And so we have had reports as well as of slower backup speeds on Synology devices. And I have looked into it, and I personally feel that it has to do with the amount of memory in these boxes as well. Some of these Synology devices aren't just doing file storage. Some people, Synology does a lot. Some of them are camera systems. Some of them are, what do they call them? Like video streaming devices where you can like upload all your videos to them, which I actually want to get one for that now because I got a lot of DVDs. Love to get rid of that bookshelf in my living room. A lot of them are using a lot of that memory. And the one that we were looking at, they were saying, oh, we're only getting 20 megs. And I looked at the specs online, and it only has a 1.3 gigahertz processor, and it has 512 megs of RAM. And so you're going to see a little bit of a degraded speed on that. Whereas if you had a higher end computer that had a little more memory pulling that data from that Synology. So that's something that we're investigating as well. We have to have the encryption. There's no way around that. We can't disable the encryption for anyone. So our data is always going to be encrypted. But I just wanted to throw that out there. If you feel that was what you were seeing as well, Seth.
Yeah, I've seen that before as well. Yeah.
So let's see here. What do we have next on our agenda, Seth? We'll try to. I think we got like one topic left here, don't we?
Yeah. The one at the you want to go ahead?
Does that one say red alert?
Yeah. So
we're gonna start. I'm just gonna we're gonna start issuing red alerts for bad configs.
Yeah, exactly. We'll just send like an email, and it'll just be a giant image of a red, like our logo or something like that.
I just want now we just need our offices right now to have like red flashing strobe lights and saying red alert screaming over the
right.
I'm gonna feel like I'm on Star Trek.
Right, exactly. Yep.
So I feel that because of this topic that I should probably just state this. So we weren't going to mention this, and I'm going to keep it very vague for safety reasons because we're not sure what the status is of this, and I got to protect the partner as well and the partner's clients. So one of our partners' clients got hit with ransomware, And I know you took this out, but one of our partners' clients got hit with ransomware, and we've had other partners get hit with ransomware before, and they've been able to recover their data. However, after hours and hours of digging into this with our development team and everything, it looks like it was a misconfiguration. We set up, and it's the misconfiguration was on the user account. So Magnus Box, when we set up a new backup server, we set a default policy that has best practices in it. We also include exclusions for temp files. What happened is the new user account was set up, and that account, for some reason or another, the default policy was not selected. And one of the most important things in that default policy was an option to prevent the deletion of snapshots. So every time a backup job is run, a snapshot is created, which is your versioning, which allows you to grab past data. What happened is this partner's client was compromised by ransomware. And from what we've been able to piece together internally here is that an attacker, through RDC or through some other means of remote access, was able to locate the backup software on that endpoint and went in there and deleted those snapshots. And so our huge recommendation in what would have prevented this would be to make sure that you're using the default policy or adapting it and enhancing it. None of our systems were compromised. All of our admin accounts for all of our partner servers have complex passwords. We don't reuse the passwords, and they have two-factor enabled on the accounts. And so the only way that this could have happened is that policy was not on that user account, on that backup account, and a malicious attacker went in and deleted the snapshots. So what happened is that once they deleted those snapshots, and we feel it was a person because the timestamps on the deletion commands, there was 2 of them ran, they were not automated. We can tell by the timestamp that they were not scripted. They were done manually. And so when they deleted the snapshots, all the data from the storage vault was purged, which is why we recommend making sure that you're using a default policy. My recommendation, my 3-step recommendation for this entire thing is make sure your admin account for your backup server, you have two-factor enabled. And it's very easy to do. You just log into your server in the upper right-hand corner, you click the drop-down account settings, and there's an option to enable either a YubiKey or a TOTP code and two-factor everything. The second thing is make sure that the policy doesn't allow anyone to delete the snapshots, or you can even take it a step further and prevent deleting the vault. And then the third step is, I know when I owned my MSP, I trust no one. I trust no end users. I trusted Seth, but I don't trust end users because they make bad decisions. Lock the endpoint application. Make sure that you have it set that the endpoint is locked, the application is locked. So if they try to open the Magnus Box software or whatever you named your backup software, that they need to use the password to get into it. Those simple 3 steps in our research would have stopped this partner's client from losing data. So that is what we've seen, and that's about as much as I can dig into that. And but I feel like I need to talk about it because I've seen some of our partners' accounts, and we try to reach out to them when we see something. So here at Magnus Box, we provide a platform. We set up the initial setup of that platform and secure it. After that, it's up to our partners to make sure that they're following best practices and securing it, which is another reason why in our documentation, we're going to be creating a best practices guide, and we're going to outline my 3-step security to protect your client, and stop any possible legal actions that are involved from that. So, wow, I just took this whole entire Q&A down a dark path, didn't I, Seth?
No, it was a necessary path, I think. But
we went back and forth today and discussed whether we were going to talk about it or not because of it possibly being a litigation thing. But we have spent a lot of time documenting, and we feel that this is exactly what happened to it. So on top of that, oh, go ahead.
Sorry, I was just about to jump in and say, kind of because of that, I think also one of our projects in the next coming months is going to be to figure out a way to kind of do a sort of combing through different partner server configurations and and kind of catch any of those red flags, which is why we started with the red alert type thing. Because, you know, if we can catch that preemptively, again, like Mike said, we provide the platform and kind of and give users give our partners control over it. But if we can kind of, you know, in our experience, notice any errors that need to be addressed, and kind of create a ticket, whether that be an automated ticket or maybe it'll notify one of our team members and we can reach out manually. Any sort of thing to kind of help prevent any of those catastrophic errors and data losses is going to be helpful, I think. And again, just some added value that we can add to the platform, and kind of reach out, like I said, proactively before anything occurs, that we're not scrambling, you know, after the fact. So that's kind of what another project that we'll explore. Obviously, there's a couple of things we have to be careful of. Obviously, we don't want to be spammed and stuff like that. We don't want to get you know, a lot of alerts, you know, for the same issue, I should say. And also, we don't want to go too fine grain. Obviously, you know, I don't know about a per backup basis. That might be a little bit too fine grained, a little bit too much noise, at least at the start. But I think like the policies are a good start, because there's usually only, you know, like a maximum of 5, I think I've seen in one partner server. So those are pretty easy to check, I think, as well as some of the other configuration settings, maybe how many storage vaults they have per user or something like that. But mainly trying to figure out those large ticket items, and then not so much those smaller, less significant items. But like I said, we'll explore that over the next coming weeks and evaluate what we can do with that.
Exactly. That sounds good.
Yeah, we'll have to, like I said, it'll be fun, and I think it'll be a good enhancement to make.
Yeah, and I mean, we're always looking for enhancements. If you see something that would be an interesting enhancement, you know, there's lots of stuff we can do. It's just we're trying to focus on what we want to focus, what our partners want. So, and you know, sometimes things stick, and sometimes things don't. And they don't work out. So, I mean, we're always open to innovating and coming up with ideas. That's why everyone here is a partner and not just a client.
Yep, exactly.
So, Seth, do you want to go through did you want to go through anything else for FAQ, or do you want me to touch on Nexus and then we can end it and then call it a day so that everyone can finish their lunches and get back to work?
Yeah, I think the next, just a quick update on Nexus, and then we can kind of, like you said, get back to lunch and then close things out.
Yep. So if anyone has any questions, like we said, feel free to drop them in the box. Otherwise, we'll keep on going here. So Nexus, everything is going quite well with Nexus. So we did get the replacement firewall installed, and the one that was damaged after 2 months of operation, we got the RMA approved on it. They actually fixed it. The power supply failed in it, so they went ahead and replaced that power supply, and they're sending that one back. Once I get that second firewall back, we're going to get that installed in the Nexus cluster. And for those of you that haven't been following us, Nexus is the code name for the Petabyte project, which is a storage cluster that we built here in Saginaw, Michigan. So data is flowing to it. Right now, in the process of moving data from Delta, which is our US East storage array, to Nexus. The goal of the Nexus project is to start to bring our data in-house. And I know that sounds scary, and that's going to paranoid some people. But it all comes down to a couple important things, which are reliability, control, and being able to properly support it. And I think reliability, control, and support. So with our current infrastructure, we're relying on a lot of vendors, different data centers, S3 providers, server providers, and we just want to make sure that as Magnus Box scales, that our quality of service continues to grow with us. And you know, when we've had outages in the past, you know, we're sitting here twiddling our thumbs because all we can do is call the data center and and say, hey, when's it going to get fixed? And half the time you get told just to hold on, which, you know, we want to be right there and want to be able to have control of that. And so with us having exclusivity to the data that's on those servers, you know, it's not being shared with, you know, all these other people where it's partitioned off. We have more speed and more reliability. So Nexus does have gigabit circuits going to it as of right now. In the current transfer, we have transferred 120 terabytes of the 350 that Delta is currently holding. So we have like what, 25, 30 days left, Seth? You know, we're screaming at 800 megs a second. So we didn't want to go the full gig just because we have a few partners that we have moved over to the Nexus cluster. And we wanted to make sure that they got their fair share of the bandwidth and we weren't just hogging it the whole time with moving the data with our clone. So once the data from Delta to Nexus is complete, once the transfer has been completed, we're going to have to do a final pass to make sure that we've got all the data, which is going to be another intensive process. And then we're going to have to start pointing everyone's data from Delta over to Nexus. So we already finished our HIPAA compliance on the Nexus cluster. Everything is up to snuff. Data is encrypted at rest as usual. The network racks are locked. 24/7 surveillance, access control. Seth and me have access to the data center 24/7. Generator, everything you can think of. And so once that data has been transferred, I think what we're going to actually do, Seth, is just kind of let that data sit after we. That's not the right terminology. We're going to have to branch off and get a second storage going out there because we are going to have 350 terabytes. We don't want to overload that server, so we're going to have to branch off. And I think we're going to have to start up another Nexus. We'll have to come up with another name for it, like Nexus 2.0 or something. Or
yeah.
But for those of you that don't know, you guys probably think I have a clever naming scheme for these things. Nexus is just because I was playing StarCraft 2 back in the day. So most of our names come from a geek reference. So we like to have a little bit of fun. You know, we could get bored and be like, store1 dot, magnusbox.com. But
right.
So I do see we have a question here, and I do appreciate that. So is there any redundancy? So this is something that we have struggled with. There is no redundancy between storage clusters at this time. It is something that we could add in the future, and the biggest reason we don't have that redundancy is cost. So when I say there is no redundancy, there's two different things I want to point out with that. So our storage infrastructure is built on Seth. For those of you that don't know Seth, you're Seth. Right. I'm talking about Seth. Seth with a P, C-E-P-H. Seth is a very resilient and redundant storage infrastructure. As of right now, our cluster in Saginaw is comprised of 6 servers, and they're in a 4+2 redundancy. So we can lose one minimum server and the data will still continue to flow. We could lose a second server, and that's when things get messy. That's a whole entire server. And so there is redundancy built in. As we add more servers, it gets more and more redundant. So Ceph itself is redundant. It doesn't use any RAID. We're running everything on Linux. I am a huge Linux advocate. Seth is a huge Mac advocate.
I like Linux too.
Mac, Linux, they kind of go hand in hand. I mean, the commands are pretty much the same. Mac just has a prettier GUI.
I'll agree with you on that.
So we have redundancy within the storage clusters themselves. If a drive fails, it's not the end of the world. We go slap in another drive. We have 76 of them in the Nexus cluster right now for our petabyte storage. If a single drive fails, if a single server fails, that data will then move over to another cluster and it's still accessible while we do damage control on that and get it going. Now, redundancy as in geo-redundant, we don't have geo-redundancy. And everyone's going to be shocked and say, well, why not? Biggest thing is cost. We have a cost with hosting data at our current data centers that we're using. So on the East Coast or in Texas, those costs would then be doubled. And I have actually thought about this, Seth, where we could offer an additional service and say, hey, your data is stored over here in US South on Defiant, and then it's being replicated to US East on Delta or on US or on, I don't even know what I called Nexus. I think it's like US Midwest or something. Nexus sounds way cooler than the official name. So, but yeah, I mean, it is something we can offer in the future. It would have to be an added cost because we're basically doubling our expenses here at Magnus Box, and it's not beneficial if we have to double that cost across the board. And so it is something that we've talked about. With Seth, we can actually get into more data centers and replicate those as well. So it is a whole conversation. And the same is going for our data center in Europe as well, because I see that was a second question, is that it's the same exact scenario. It's the data center that we're partnered with is using Seth as their backbone, and it's the same exact scenario as well. So we have redundancy within the data center, but we don't have geo redundancy. And trust me, when OVH had that massive fire in France, which I think I messaged you guys, I think I messaged you and Matt, and I was like, holy crap, because we use OVH for some of our dedicated bare metal servers. And our servers are all backed up. I mean, all of our partner servers and all of our infrastructure is backed up. You know, there's hourly snapshots getting offloaded to a different geographical location. So let's say Delta, the server that accepts incoming connections died. We could get that server up and running within an hour. If a partner server dies, we'll have hourly snapshots, and we can pull that data back in. Those hourly snapshots have saved our partners in the past too, when they've deleted user accounts from their backup servers. They panic and we're like, oh, I got a config over here. We'll just give us an hour. We'll get it back up and running. So, but yeah, that's a great question, and it's been something that I've been wanting to address. So we have redundancy, but not geographical redundancy. So, and we monitor all of our infrastructure in real time. In fact, all of our storage arrays, I get cell phone. They pop right up on my cell phone and they call me whenever a storage server doesn't ping within a certain amount of time, or if the latency gets too high. So I'm always watching traffic. We got to make sure that those megabits are flowing into the megabytes. So, but I don't think I had anything else for today. We were only planning for 15 minutes, Seth.
Yeah, I see we just tripled that.
We're at 47 minutes, and we've had some great conversation. I don't think I have anything else for today. Do you, Seth?
No, I'm all set. I'll get back to, I think I'm going to have a tuna sandwich for lunch. So.
Oh, man. So just to end the show here, you know, my name is Mike, and then we got Seth hiding over there. If you have any questions for either of us, feel free to reach out to us. You can email the team inbox at support@magnusbox.com. If you want to email me personally, it's pretty easy. It's mike@magnusbox.com. And I bet you can guess Seth's, but he'll drop it here for you.
Support@magnusbox. No, I'm just kidding. Seth@magnusbox.com.
And you know, I'm going to strike that. All my emails, just if you need to email me personally, send them to matt@magnusbox.com. Right. He'll take no, but
that's anyways, right. Yeah.
I think we're gonna try to do this monthly, Seth, or I think this has been a good thing. Our partners want to see it. Maybe we'll do some live tutorials next time. We were hoping to do some today, but we got a little wordy. But
yeah, I think we're both a talker. We're both talkers, so.
Well, and it's a lot easier when it's a lot easier to talk to someone on the screen than it's just to talk to the little light on my camera up there.
Right. Exactly.
It doesn't talk back. But
I hope not.
Yeah, so we're gonna try to do these monthly. That's why I made a generic image there. So I think we'll try for monthly. And this here came from a suggestion from a partner that they wanted a monthly Q&A, and we're like, done. So, but anyway, guys, enjoy the rest of your Wednesday. Like I said, if you need anything, email support@magnusbox.com. Otherwise, we will see you guys in the chat. Have a great day, everyone.